When legendary CEOs like Tim Cook or Warren Buffett approach the end of their leadership era, one big question emerges. How do you replace a giant? Let's start with Tim Cook. Since taking over Apple in 2011, Cook has transformed the company into an unmatched powerhouse. Apple's annual revenue surged from $108 billion to $416 billion. Operating profit jumped from $34 billion to $133 billion, and the company's market value exploded from $350 billion to over $4 trillion. That means Cook added roughly $700 million of shareholder value every single day during his 14-year tenure. That level of leadership is nothing short of extraordinary. But here's the catch. How do you replace someone like that? Recent rumors suggest Cook may step down sooner than expected, possibly as early as next year. And with Apple in excellent financial condition, whoever takes the helm next will inherit not only a strong company, but also an enormous shadow. Those are some seriously big shoes to fill. This challenge isn't unique to Apple. Walmart's longtime CEO Doug McMillon is preparing to step down after nearly 12 years leading the world's largest retailer. Warren Buffett, arguably the most iconic investor of all time, is quietly preparing for retirement after more than 6 decades guiding Berkshire Hathaway. Even J.P. Morgan Chase CEO Jamie Dimon has signaled that his own exit may not be far away. What these leaders share is simple: longevity and exceptional results. In fact, companies led by CEOs who serve for a decade or more consistently outperform the market. They create stability, build culture, and deliver sustained returns. But that success comes with a paradox. The more successful the CEO, the harder it is to replace them. There's an old saying in business: you don't want to be the person who follows a legend. You want to be the person who follows the legend. Data backs this up. According to a study by Spencer Stewart, 85% of CEO replacements in the S&P 500 come from inside the company, yet 66% of those internal successors underperformed their legendary predecessors, and nearly half even underperformed the broader market. Expectations can be impossible to match. So what can companies do? The answer is taking succession planning seriously. Not as a formality, but as a long-term strategic priority. Too many companies have plans on paper, but very few actually nurture true successors early enough. The best time to prepare a future CEO isn't 5 years before a transition. It's 10 to 15 years before. One key factor is identifying young rising leaders within the company. Not the usual overexperienced executives nearing retirement, but high-potential innovators in their 30s and 40s, people who will have both the stamina and fresh perspective needed to lead a company well into the next decade. But because they're less proven, companies need to start grooming them early. Another option, though often unpopular, is looking outside the company. And sometimes, this is exactly what's needed. Apple is a great example. While Cook excelled in supply chain dominance and commercial execution, the next era of Apple will demand a different kind of leadership, one focused on AI breakthroughs, digital ecosystems, and diversifying away from heavy reliance on Chinese manufacturing. Even Warren Buffett's reduced exposure to Apple hints that the company must evolve beyond the Cook playbook. This is where external leaders can bring bold, disruptive thinking, especially in moments of industry transformation. History shows that outsiders have successfully revitalized giants. Think Satya Nadella reshaping Microsoft or Louis Gerstner rescuing IBM. Sometimes companies don't just need a successor, they need a new DNA. And this brings us to the deeper truth. Following a legend is not about matching their greatness, it's about leading with a completely new vision. Replacing giants like Tim Cook or Warren Buffett isn't simply a managerial challenge, it's a psychological one. Successors are not judged by their own achievements, but by comparisons to a mythic past. That's why the next generation of leaders must be prepared not only for strategic decisions, but also for cultural expectations, investor pressure, and the inevitable comparisons that come their way. In the end, great succession planning isn't about continuity. It's about evolution. Companies that thrive after a legendary era are those that recognize when the next chapter requires new thinking, new leadership, and sometimes new kinds of leaders altogether. Whether it's Apple, Walmart, JP Morgan, or any corporate giant, the lesson is clear. Replacing a legend is one of the hardest tasks in business. But with the right vision and preparation, it's possible to find the leader who will guide the company into its next great era.
Thank you for watching. If you find value in this content, I invite you to subscribe and stay connected for more insights.